News Talk 1070 KHMO presents On the Mark with Mark Hespin. News Talk 1070 KHMO presents On the Mark with Mark Hespin. On the Mark is powered by Cunis Country Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area at 221 North 36th Street, Quincy. Faith, family, and giving back. That's Cunis Country. And now, here's Mark Hespin.
Good morning, Tri-States, and wherever you may be listening on the News Talk 1070 KHMO app. This is On the Mark. I am Mark Hespin, brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. You got to ask them about that lifetime powertrain warranty on the new and the used vehicles. Tell them Mark sent you. Welcome on in to episode 208 of On the Mark here on this Saturday, October 28th, heading into Halloween, a couple days away of rounding out October. Crazy to think we're already coming to the end of October. You can always follow me on Twitter/X or Instagram at Mark Hespin, MarkHespen. You can also subscribe to the YouTube channel there. Just search Mark Hespin on YouTube. And if you listen to the show on the KHMO app or on the terrestrial radio, you got me locked in on the dial there in the car or in the workshop, wherever you may be, however you may be listening. You can always follow along with the show on the Mark KHMO on Facebook. Just search it on Facebook, On the Mark KHMO. Welcome on into the show. We got a jam-packed one for you today, including we will break down every single NFL game this week. We will talk college football. This is a take care of business week in college football. Absolutely. In the NFL, it feels like we really are starting to round out to form, too, about what we know and what we don't know about these teams. So get into all of that. And then we'll wrap up the show with some early thoughts on the NBA as we are less than a week in to the NBA season. But first, the trade deadline in the NFL is coming up on Halloween. On Tuesday night. It's a spooky time of the year for your favorite team in the National Football League. And so let's take a look at it. The 5 teams that need to be aggressive at the trade deadline, and the 5 teams, in my opinion, that need to sell, and get on the pick train and go into tank mode. So let's break it down. The trade deadline is Tuesday. Hespin headline number 1.
Hespin's headlines on the Mark.
All right, so who needs to be aggressive? Let's start with the positive, right? You got to feel good about your team. They're in a nice place, but maybe they've been decimated by some injuries, and the roster just hasn't worked out the way you wanted it to so far. So I think there are 5 teams, in my opinion, that need to be aggressive. They have expectations, and they're not living up to those expectations, whether it be to injury or just the way their team is constructed currently. We're going to start at the top. I think the number 1 team that needs to be the most aggressive, I've been saying it for weeks now, and they're coming off a very nice Thursday night football win, and that's the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills are 5-3, and really the Buffalo Bills were a team that, 6-7 weeks ago, I would have never said for them to have to be aggressive at the trade deadline. The problem is the injuries. Singletary, you also had Matt Milano breaking a leg. They're at the point now where defensively, I feel like they need to find a linebacker, safety, or corner help, more strength on that defense, or Buffalo is one of the many teams I just feel like, you know what, with Von Miller back now, if you could find another elite interior defensive lineman, they really go a long way with the Bills. I also think the Bills should very much be in the Derrick Henry sweepstakes, so trying to be aggressive with finding themselves a marquee player that they can rent for a stretch run, someone who they can convince, you know what, you come with us, we can get the most out of you, let's go and try to win a Super Bowl in the AFC. The Bills, they're in that window, and that's part of why they need to be aggressive. You have Josh Allen, you have Stephon Diggs, Dalton Kincaid is really rounding into form, Gabe Davis, you like a lot of their offensive pieces. You need a running back, a linebackers, safety, corner help. You can solidify some of those things and really help your team on the stretch run. The Bills need to be the most aggressive, in my opinion, at the trade deadline. The second team that needs to be most aggressive is also in the AFC. They also have Super Bowl aspirations. They also have a quarterback whose the window to win is right now, and that's Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. Again, the Bengals, I think to me, it's just their defense doesn't have the teeth that it did when they made that Super Bowl run a couple years ago. The offensive line has improved, but I think there's still holes on it. Overall, offensively, with the weapons, you got to be happy with how they perform so far. Getting Joe Burrow healthy is so much a part of just how the Bengals will improve. But if I'm a Bengals fan and you are looking at the AFC with the Ravens and how well they've been playing, and with the Chiefs ahead of you, knowing that obviously the Bills are trying to be aggressive, the Jaguars are right there, it's a crowded AFC. Getting aggressive at the trade deadline for another pass rusher, some interior offensive line help. Maybe if you can sneak away, a corner from someone, a Patrick Surtain from the Broncos, that is something I would really look at. When you're a team like a Bills or like a Bengals and you expect your first round pick to be in the 20s or lower, in the third, late 20s, because you expect a deep playoff run, giving up a first round pick for someone who's a known commodity in the NFL is not the worst thing in the world to do. It's against the Bengals' nature to be aggressive. They're just not that type of team. But when your window is the way it is right now and you're expected to win in a crowded AFC, you got to think to be aggressive. Number 3, this one might come as a shock to some people, but I think it makes a lot of sense. The Los Angeles Rams. I mean, listen, the Rams team has surprised us, a lot of us, at the beginning of the year. They're 3-4. They're kind of hanging around. Matt Stafford, it was one of the biggest question marks going into the football season, and he has really showed up that he's the Matt Stafford of old. So now, knowing that 7 games in, if I'm the Rams, if I'm Les Snead, I'm that organization, I want to be aggressive to try to add to that young defense, to add to the offensive line. You have weapons, but if you could go out and get a Derrick Henry, if you could go out and get a Saquon Barkley, if the Rams could go out and find themselves an elite pass rusher from a team that is trying to offload, or an elite corner, I think that makes a lot of sense for this Rams team to try to help them. You're looking up at the Niners, who are all of a sudden, looked like the Hulk, but now they're bleeding a little bit. So the division's a little more vulnerable. The top of the NFC, the Lions getting blown out last week, is a little more vulnerable than maybe you thought it could be. If I'm the Rams, you have Stafford on this contract playing this well with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp being healthy, I'd be aggressive in finding myself a running back, a tight end, another elite defensive lineman to add with Aaron Donald or someone else in the back end. The New Orleans Saints coming in number 4 team to be aggressive. If I'm New Orleans, I'm just looking at this division right now, and I'm thinking to myself, how do we get ourselves in this spot? You're 3-4, you're under 500, you're underperforming. Derek Carr had to miss some time. And I think if you are the Saints, you have to be looking at this going, wait a minute. We cannot lose this division to an Atlanta or a Tampa. This is our window now to win this thing. And I think if you are the New Orleans Saints, adding to that offensive line, or again, an aging but good defense, getting yourself an elite pass rusher, someone else to team up with Cam Jordan would be really beneficial for them in this window they've created, basically saying, we're all in on now. When you get Derek Carr, you add to this roster, you're making it like, hey, we need to win this division now, so be aggressive at the trade deadline. And finally, one team that I think goes against contrary belief, but I think it makes sense. I think the final team that needs to be aggressive is the Carolina Panthers. And they're the opposite, because they don't have their first-round pick. They should be aggressive. Like, you're not going to get a top-end talent in the draft coming up this year. You gave up your first-round pick. So what can you do in giving up third or fourth round picks to teams that are just desperate to unload a star? Yeah, I mean, maybe it's going to be hard to attack guys in your own division like a Tampa or what they're trying to give up. But there are other teams out there who are going to be in sell mode. And if you're the Carolina Panthers, you've got to start building this roster. You've got to start giving your young quarterback some talent around him. Offensive line needs help. Defensive line needs help. The linebacking core needs help. You need a wide receiver who you can build a relationship with and a future with your young quarterback, a tight end. Go out there, be aggressive, go get your young quarterback, someone, anything, something. Steal from some of the teams that have just kind of fallen apart, and you have to do it because you just don't have the capital in the draft. You're listening on the Mark News Talk 1070 KHMO, the KHMO app, brought to you by Kunis Honda Hyundai. On the flip side of this, what are the 5 teams that need to be sellers? Teams, I think, the writing's on the wall. the window for your opportunity to make something of this season is kind of fallen by the wayside. And so now you should really just look towards the future and go into the rebuild mode. And let's start number one, the team that lost on Thursday Night Football, the Tampa Bay Bucks. They were a fun story to start the year, but I think we're starting to see the writing on the wall with Tampa Bay. They're rounding into form of what we all thought they would be at the beginning of the year. And they have a ton of talent on this roster, veteran talent that could go to places and really contribute to help out people. Godwin, Mike Evans, the whole defense is up for grabs. The Tampa Bay Bucks are a team that if they sell off 3 or 4 pieces, they could end up with a first-round pick, a couple second- and third-round picks, and then go into a real youth movement with this roster and reset their salary cap and reset their quarterback play and be in a really good spot to compete within the division within a couple years. Yeah, it's going to take trading off some big-name guys who sell a lot of jerseys right now. But I think you look at the writing on the wall is they're the team with the most. They're the team that's going to get the most calls from teams because people are going to want Mike Evans. People are going to want Chris Godwin. There are pieces on that defense, the linebackers, that are going to be a hot commodity. And will Tampa fold? I think they should and just go into the tank mode. Washington is the next team on that list. Again, I think they surprised people starting off 2-0, but now rounding into form. They're 1-4 in their last 5 games. Losing to the Bears was an ugly win. And they're a team now that on the defensive side especially has talent, but it just hasn't gelled in Washington. You look at Montez Sweat, you look at Chase Young, those are elite pass rushers that a lot of teams are going to make some phone calls about. And if you are Washington, I would keep your offensive talent because you got to figure out if Howell is the guy, and he's had such flash moments. But defensively, you can go into the tank, help your team lose games, and increase your own draft stock while also getting maybe first or high second-round picks for a lot of guys on your defense to help, again, rebuild your roster quickly, reset your salary cap quickly, knowing that you're going into with new ownership and kind of a fresh start for the Commanders. Number 3, the Denver Broncos. We've already seen it. They're just cutting guys at this point in time. But I think Denver are going to start taking some real calls over the next couple days on Jerry Jeudy, on Cortland Sutton. If you're a team with wide receivers, I would absolutely call Denver. You know, if you are the Carolina Panthers, go get Jerry Jeudy and team him up with Bryce Young. They had the connection in college. So Broncos go into the tank mode. You get the feeling that this is what they want. Sean Payton wants to find his quarterback of the future and add. I mean, they're in cap heck with Russell Wilson and where they're at right now. And so going young, getting draft picks is definitely the way for Denver to rebuild. The Titans, we already saw it with Kevin Byard. And they should keep doing it. You know, it's that time. I wouldn't give off all of your offensive positions because, again, you want to see if Levis is the guy, and so you want to have support around him. But if you can get anything for Derrick Henry, if you can get anything for a couple of the other pieces on defense going to the tank mode, you have your coach. You got to figure out if you have the quarterback of the future on the roster and start selling off some pieces on the defense to where you can start surrounding your young quarterback if he is the guy with picks. And if he's not the guy, then you have some ammo to go get the guy. The Titans absolutely should be in that mode, especially with how C.J. Stroud and Trevor Lawrence look in that division. You're at a deficit now. You got to play catch-up. And number 5, the Colts. As soon as the Colts lost Anthony Richardson, to me it was all in on tank mode. And it makes a ton of sense. You want it. You feel like Richardson's the guy, right? The surgery's concerning, but he had some really flash moments. You're not going to be in the quarterback market. So at this point in time, you have a couple pieces. You have Jonathan Taylor, but everyone else should be up for sale. You know what I mean? Because you want to try to be able to reset your clock to where all your guys are on that same path of growth and timetable with your young quarterback who you can get a 50-year option on. And so I think the Colts absolutely should sell on the rest of the year and focus 100% on building your offensive line, protecting Richardson, and then getting as much capital as you can in the draft to go out and be aggressive and be flexible, finding weapons to build around Richardson and rebuild that defense as well. You're listening on the Mark News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app. When we come back, we will get into the games this weekend. We'll go through every single game in the NFL, give you my lock 'em of the week, my upset of the week. It's been a brutal year gambling. We'll try to right the ship. It's On the Mark and Newstalk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app.
Looking for a career? KHMO.
Welcome on back to On the Mark here on Newstalk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app. Brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the Tri-State area, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. Hey, they are the buying center of the Tri-States. Listen, if you're out there trying to sell your vehicle and you are sick and tired of dealing with weirdos messaging you at all hours of the night on Facebook Marketplace and creepy apps like that, avoid that hassle. Go to Cunis Honda Hyundai. They have cash. They have checks waiting for you. They have Kelly Blue Book official numbers as well. They're not going to lowball you. They're looking to buy quality vehicles that are here in the tri-state area. So stop on by to Cunis Honda Hyundai. You do not have to buy from them to sell to them. But trust me, when you check out the over 3,000 new and used vehicles, you're going to want to buy from them as well. But they are the buying center of the tri-states. Put the power in your hands. Sell your car to Cunis Honda Hyundai. Tell them Mark sent you. All right, let's waste no time. Let's get into it. Let's break down every single game of Week 8 in the NFL season. We're not at the halfway point yet. Remember, we added a game, but it is Week 8. We're feeling so close to that point in time. And let's jump into it. Give you my lock of the week and my upset of the week as well. It's Hespin Headline number 2.
Hespin's Headlines on the Mark.
All right, Week 8 officially here. Let's jump into it. And I'll be honest, guys. The gambling, this is my worst year yet with the gambling picks. 4-9-1 so far on the year. I'm embarrassed. I'm ashamed. We need to right the ship. I am going back. Last week I bet on the Rams and the Lions. This week I'm going back to the Rams, the Lions, but on the flip side. All right, I feel good, and let me explain it to you when we get there. Let's start with the noon slate, and we'll work our way through. Patriots at the Dolphins. Dolphins favored by 9.5. It's going to be a hot and rainy one in Miami. Listen, this is one of those spots for Miami where they got punched in the mouth last week when they lost to the Eagles on Sunday Night Football. I fully expect them to bounce back. The problem is, have the Patriots maybe finally found a groove? And in division, we know that Bill Belichick is good. But, shocker, the Dolphins, with Tua as the starter, are undefeated against the Patriots so far in Tua's young career. I like the Dolphins in this game. They're going to be motivated. They have a plethora of weapons and speed at home versus a very, very dull, slow Patriots offense. Vic Fangio and that Miami defense is going to come out, I think, motivated to show some teeth. Fangio is a guy who can go toe-to-toe with Belichick. I like the Dolphins, but the Patriots should cover the 9.5. I think this will be a closer game than you think. Miami wins late on a touchdown, something along the lines of 24-17. Patriots cover, Dolphins win. Jets at the Giants. What an ugly, ugly game this one will be. Will Daniel Jones actually be back and starting? Not 100% sure on his status. It looks like he's actually listed out as of the time I'm looking at this. In that case, I think the Jets, listen, they have been playing solid football. They're coming off a bye week. I think they are right now a more talented football team. Both teams, I think, will struggle to move the football. I'd take the under in this one, but I'm going to take the Jets to win. I think this game means more to the Jets. The Jets are hanging around. They have that Aaron Rodgers vibe of stick around, hang around, stick around, and who knows, maybe the bad man will finally come back at the end of the season if he's able to in the way he's been rehabbing. The Jets, I think, are just more potent on offense, which is crazy to say with Zach Wilson, even though Tyrod Taylor's been playing actually solid football for the Giants. Can you get 3 quality starts in a row from your backup quarterback if you're the Giants? Maybe. Maybe you can, because if it's an experienced guy like Tyrod Taylor. I'll take the Jets. They have the best defense. They have a more potent offense. Yes, they're on the road, but they're at home. They're coming off the bye. They should be as healthy as they've been since the start of the season. I'll take the Jets to win an ugly one. 2017 Jets win, ugly late field goal. And no one wants to watch that game unless you're a Jets or Giants fan. Jaguars at the Steelers. Listen, the Jags are favored on the road because they're a better team than Pittsburgh. The problem is Pittsburgh is home underdogs under Mike Tomlin are like unbeatable. Now, I do think this is a little different because this isn't the Big Ben Steelers of old when they've been underdogs with Mike Tomlin. I like the Jags in this game. I think the Jags are the better team. They are on a real roll right now. They are really finding a groove. They have extra rest for this game after playing Thursday night last week. So I think that bodes well for the Jaguars. Now, conversely, the Steelers get Deontay Johnson back. Pickens is really coming into form as of late. And let's be honest about Kenny Pickett. He is really good late in games. And when the pressure's on in these kind of 2-minute drill situations, he's been balling out. I like the Steelers, the way they're improving. The Jaguars are the better team. I'm going to trust that. I'm going to trust in Trevor Lawrence. I'm going to trust that this Jags team stays hot. But this is one of those games, to be honest with you, I would stay away from. I would enjoy watching it, but I'd stay away from betting it because Mike Tomlin at home as an underdog always gets his guys fired up. I think it's going to be uglier and lower scoring than you think, but I'll take the Jags to pull out a victory in a 17-14 win over the Steelers. I just don't think the Steelers are potent enough offensively. And the Jags will win an ugly game against a very good Steelers defense. Falcons at the Titans. Listen, the Falcons have been finding ways to win games. The fact that they're 4-3 is certainly not what I predicted at this point in time with the Falcons. And let's be honest about Desmond Ridder. The turnovers within the red zone are bad. They're ugly. But overall, beyond that, he's been playing pretty solid football. Not solid in the sense to where you're like, he's the quarterback of the future, don't draft a guy. But he's not as bad as I thought he would be here in year 2. Now, that being said, I think the Titans are going to have a lot of juice starting Levis at home. I think this is going to be a get-up game for the Titans. They just traded a star player. Everyone's writing them off. Rookie quarterback starting. I think this is one of those classic Mike Vrabel games. He gets his team up and going. He knows Arthur Smith, his former offensive coordinator, is the head coach of the Falcons. Desmond Ridder in the cold on the road. I like the Titans to win in upset fashion. It is not my upset of the week, but I have the Titans winning in an upset over the Falcons at home, 24-14. They take down the Falcons. The Titans don't write him off just yet, just because they're trading people. I think Levis has a really nice game in his first start. I think they protect him. They get Derrick Henry going. They show off Derrick Henry just before they trade him at the trade deadline. Texans at the Panthers. Texans favored by 3 on the road against the Panthers. Panthers coming off the bye. Yeah, how do you not like the Texans in this game? Texans are a better defensive team. I think right now they're a better coach team. They have more talent on their roster, and they have by far the better quarterback. The guy who I would have taken number 1 overall if you were to go back in the draft and listen to what I was saying, 8 months ago during that draft process, 7 months ago. Yeah, I like C.J. Stroud the best, and I'm going to stick by that. I think C.J. Stroud gets an easy win against the Panthers defense that is not good, against the Panthers offense that has very little going for it right now. Miles Sanders still not 100% even after the bye. I'm reading that he still may be questionable for this game going into it. Brian Burns obviously out. Von Bell, the safety, is out for the Panthers. Chenault Jr., the wide receiver, is out. Yeah, I like the Texans, and I like them pretty easily. I think they put up points. 30-21 win over the Panthers on the road. Book it for the Texans. All right. Upset of the week time. The Los Angeles Rams are 6-point underdogs on the road against the Dallas Cowboys. Everyone is riding high on the Cowboys. They had that big win. Then they got the bye week. I think the bye week hurts their momentum. I think Mike McCarthy is a bad coach. And so I don't think the bye week does any favors for this Dallas team, except for the fact that they might be healthier. They're rested. They're at home. But this Rams team, it's a coaching mismatch with Sean McVay. He just had his kid. He's getting the kid bump. Baby was born on Tuesday. I think you're going to see a Rams team come out firing on all cylinders. they have advantages to where, yes, their offensive line is weak against a good Dallas pass rush, but it's a homecoming game for Matt Stafford. The wide receiver core against the beat-up back end of the Dallas Cowboys defense. I think Stafford's going to knife them to death with just dink and dunk and short routes, long drives, tire out that pass rush and Micah Parsons for the Dallas Cowboys defense. And let's be honest, this is a classic Dak come back down to earth game, a big game for Aaron Donald on the road against Dallas. I'm going to take the Los Angeles Rams. Upset alert. They beat the Cowboys in Dallas 30-27 in a classic great game. Love it. Think it's going to be a fun one to watch. I think the Rams find their way to 500. And on Monday, we have more questions about this Dallas Cowboys team and who they are and are they for real. So take the Rams +6. Even if the Rams don't win, I don't see them losing. 6 points is a lot for a Matthew Stafford team with those weapons on the road against a Dallas defense that doesn't have the teeth that it did to start the year. Vikings at the Packers. This one is a total stay-away game for me. Total stay-away game. Everyone loves the Vikings, right? Oh, my gosh, they look Kirk Cousins. On Monday night, he looked great. Monday night, Kirk Cousins, he beat the demons of playing in the prime time. Yeah, no. It's ugly. Listen, I think the Vikings are the better team. Kirk Cousins is the better quarterback. I think that the Vikings have all the momentum going for them right now. But this is a divisional game on the road at cold, chilly Lambeau against a desperate Packers team. A Packers team that is absolutely in a must-win, backs against the wall, Jordan Love has to play good type of game. That's dangerous. That's really, really a dangerous spot to be in. Listen, Cleveland, the guard, is questionable for the Vikings. That's not good. Asamoah, the linebacker, is out for the Vikings. That's not good. The Packers aren't 100% healthy. Musgraves is questionable. Jair Alexander is questionable. I'm going to predict the Vikings to win because right now the Packers are just playing like such poop offensively, and Jordan Love is not good. And I think Kirk is highly motivated right now to keep his job, to keep being a starting quarterback in the National Football League, and he's been playing really good football. So I'm going to predict the Vikings win. I think they'll win something along the lines of 27-20. This one could get ugly quick. It's a home game for the Packers. It's a desperate Packers team. I would stay away from it gambling, but I'm making my official pick. I'll take the Vikings over the Packers. But that'll be a fun one to watch because, again, like I said, just absolute desperation mode from the Green Bay Packers. It's a spot that they're just not used to being in, so we just don't know how to handle it as fans and analyze it from that position. Saints at the Colts. Listen, the Saints are favored by 1 on the road against the Colts. The Saints are the more desperate team to win. The Colts and Gardner Minshew are a really fun story, but again, I think the best thing the Colts could do at this point in time is just start improving their draft stock. And I also think the Colts are a team that very unpredictably defensively, I think they can give up a ton of points, as you saw they did to a P.J. Walker-led Browns team last week. So I think the Saints are the more desperate team. They've been rested. They were embarrassed on national TV at home on Thursday Night Football. I think you'll see the Saints team come back, bounce back. Derek Carr is going to try to push it down the field, get the ball in the hands of the playmakers. Olave with the arrest, a lot of chatter, a lot of noise. But I think overall, they're in a spot that they're more desperate. They have more talent. They're in a bounce back spot. I like the Saints over the Colts. Ugly, gross, but they win 24-21 on the road at the Colts. Eagles, Commanders, I don't think you should overthink this one too much. Eagles have found their groove. Eagles have the better quarterback. They have the better roster. I think you're starting to see it fall apart in Washington a bit. Sweat and Chase Young are all over the trade deadline talks. I think the Eagles come out and they put a hurting on the Commanders. The line is 7. I think that's fair. 33-20, 33-17 type of win for the Eagles. Listen, if the Eagles lose this game, then the way they lose it is because this is a Washington team that is absolutely desperate, and you're seeing guys who are trying to avoid the trades and avoid the trade deadline. And, you know, the Commanders, as we saw early in the year, they played the Eagles tight on a divisional game. But I think the Eagles right now are flying high, and they'll take care of the Commanders pretty easily. Browns at the Seahawks. We're getting another P.J. Walker start. Deshaun Watson. There's talks now about putting him on IR. But otherwise, the Browns have been one of the weird and surprising stories of the NFL to start the year. How much can you get out of P.J. Walker and how long can you get it? I don't know. But this is a long road trip, flying all the way up to Seattle for the late start. I mean, the time zone's really going to mess with the Browns. They're going East Coast to West Coast, late start. Seahawks are good at home. Geno Smith at home. I think that what you're going to see from the Seahawks team against this really good Ravens defense is their offensive line is improved. If they can hold up, I like the matchups that the Seattle Seahawks have on the outside against the Browns defense. And also, the defense can't just win every game for the Browns here. The Browns have been fun so far, but this is one of those that you'll look and be like, yeah, P.J. Walker's a backup for a reason. I think you'll see the Seahawks win this one pretty easily, 24-14 at home against the Browns. There's going to be a lot of question marks about where they go, what they do, and how can they get a healthy nerve going in the rotator cuff or whatever he's injured for their quarterback, Deshaun Watson. Ravens-Cardinals. Ravens favored by 9.5. Yeah, again, the Ravens, I think right now, are playing an elite level of football. It's, again, a weird travel, East Coast to West Coast. I think they're on that mountain time, Arizona is. But, you know, late 3:25 start. I'll say this. The Cardinals are living off that frisky win from the Cowboys, but I don't think they can keep living off it for much longer. Tight early, but the Ravens will figure it out, and it'll end up being, I think, kind of a blowout. 30-13, Ravens take care of business. The Ravens, right now, beyond the Chiefs, is anyone playing better football than the Baltimore Ravens? I don't think so. And so I'll take the Ravens to win, improve to 6-2 with an easy win over the Cardinals in Arizona. Chiefs, they are on the road against the Broncos. We said it, 2-3 weeks ago, the last time this team played. I mean, the Broncos haven't beaten the Chiefs since Peyton Manning. He's now been in the Hall of Fame for like multiple years. It is like 8 years, and I don't see it changing anytime soon. The line is 7. I think that's about right. Chiefs 33, Broncos 27, 24, something like that. The Broncos will score because they're at home, and I do think they'll put on points late because by the time the Chiefs get to like 33, it'll be like 33-17, and maybe they'll let off the gas a little bit. You'll see the Broncos put up some points late. I'll say this about the Broncos. Offensively, if you're in that locker room and you are the Jerry Jeudy's, the Cortland Suttons, Russell Wilson, you hope that they're lighting a fire under each other and you hope that they're motivating each other to stay out of those trade talks because it looks like the tank is on for the 2-5 Broncos. And falling to 2-6, your jobs are on the line right before the trade deadline. Can they show some fight? I'd be shocked if the streak ends now for the Broncos. Listen, you don't think Taylor Swift's going to be there? All eyes are going to be on Travis Kelce. Can he perform without Taylor Swift watching? I think he will. I think the Chiefs will have a big game. Mecole Hardman also coming back to the Chiefs. That'll be a storyline to watch for. How easily does he assimilate back into their passing game? Does he become kind of the go-to target? Mahomes is really starting to develop a rapport with the rookie wide receiver Rice, and I think Rice is a really good player. But does he just kind of fall back into, good old Mecole Hardman's here on a lot of crucial third down and short type of pickup games? That'll be a storyline to actually watch for if you are a Chiefs fan. I like the Chiefs in that one pretty easily. Bengals against the 49ers. Listen, the Bengals are at the Niners. Niners are favored by 4. It looks like they're going to start Sam Darnold with Brock Purdy out with a concussion. I'll say this. This is going to be, to me, the most fun game to watch of the weekend because we're going to get so much juice as football fans and as the media. If Sam Darnold balls out and plays great football, how can you not immediately go into the questions of quarterback controversy? He's the former first-round pick. He's bigger. He's stronger. He's more athletic than Brock Purdy. It's Kyle Shanahan. I mean, I'm telling you, if he throws for 2 or 3 touchdowns, no turnovers, runs for 30, 40 yards like he's prone to be able to do, this could get really interesting really quickly. Trent Williams is questionable. Debo is going to be out. I think the Bengals can help out Brock Purdy. And if you're Brock Purdy, I hate to say this, but you better be rooting. I think you got to be rooting for the Bengals to win in an easy fashion. I think the Bengals will win, but I don't think it's because Sam Darnold plays poorly. I think Sam Darnold plays well in a loss, but I think the Bengals are rested, bye week, desperate, in need of staying, of righting the ship after the 1-3 start. I think they find a way to win 3 in a row. I think the Niners are in a little bit of a tailspin. They're going to get a little tight. I think there's without Deebo Samuel, that really hurts them offensively and what they're able to do with the multiple looks and the disguises of putting Deebo in the backfield as well. I think it's a fun game. I think it's a close game. I think it's an entertaining game. I'm going to take the Bengals on a last-minute field goal, 27-24, a win and upset in San Francisco. But I think Sam Darnold plays well, and it leads us to question, what do we do in San Francisco with Purdy versus Darnold? Finally, on the Sunday game slate, I apologize, America. I do. I really do. The 2-5 Bears in Los Angeles taking on the 2-4 Chargers. What can I say about this game? I want to pick the Bears to win because I love watching the Bears win. I loved watching the Bears win last week, and I didn't pick them to win. But I loved watching it because I love watching my team win. And over the last 2 years with Matt Eberflus, it's been a lot of losing and not a lot of winning. So that's been nice. Do I think the Bears could be competitive? I do. If they play the way they did against the Raiders, they can be competitive. The offensive line played really solid. You're getting Roschon Johnson back, so you're going to have a real boost to the backfield for the Chicago Bears. I think if I was Luke Getsy and I was the Chicago Bears, I would get Badgett under center a little bit. I would show some different looks. I would pound the rock. I would try to shorten this game. I would try to keep Justin Herbert on the sideline as much as possible with long drives. Get the ball into the hands of DJ Moore and Darnell Mooney quickly. Little slant routes, out routes, just a bunch of 5 yards and move the chains, 5 yards and move the chains. Force the Chargers to play from behind and force Justin Herbert to make a turnover and challenge Jalen Johnson in the year that he's having. But Bears on the road against a desperate Chargers team. I think the Chargers will win, and I think it'll be pretty easily. I'll take the Chargers 27-13. Maybe the Bears keep it close early, but I think Badgett will be exposed to what he is. He's a backup quarterback. And what do you want from your backup quarterback? Ideally, for them to come in if they need to for 2 games, win you 1, lose you 1. That's what you're going to get from Badgett because he's a backup quarterback, and I think you're going to see him get exposed against a talented Chargers defense and against a Chargers team that looks at this as an absolute must-win, a more important win for them. So I'll take the Chargers to win, even though you know I'm going to be rooting for my Bears. Finally, Monday Night Football, here it is, my lock of the week, Lions -8 against the Raiders at home. The Lions got absolutely manhandled, throat slit, pushed around, bludgeoned on the road last week against the Ravens. I think you're going to see a Lions team come out and absolutely take out all their frustration on a not good Raiders team. The Raiders just lost to the Bears, okay? And they're probably going to be without Jimmy Garoppolo again. Crosby's dealing with some injuries. Bolton's on IR. Even their kicker, Daniel Carlson, is on IR. Is questionable for this game, excuse me. I think you're going to see the Lions come on out and right a lot of wrongs. And I think this game will be closer, especially if Jimmy G finds a way to play. Maybe it's like 17-17 at half. but the Lions pull away. The Lions end up winning this game 34-23 and cover that spread. And I think the Lions are going to win in an impressive fashion, get back on the right track, and start talking about, hey, the Lions, they are a real threat in the NFC. So there it is. My lock of the week, Lions, -8. Rams, +6 is the upset. You're listening on the Mark News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app. When we come back, couple quick hitters, college football to start wrapping up the show on News Talk 1070 KHMO.
I'm Paula Basta, the director of the Illinois Department on Aging. We have an adult protective services program that responds to abuse, neglect, and exploitation of persons 60 years of age or older and persons with disabilities between the ages of 18 and 59. To report suspected abuse, neglect, or exploitation of your neighbor, friend, family member, or even yourself, call 1-866-800-1409. All calls are confidential. That number again is 1-866-800-1409 or visit www.illinois.gov/aging to learn more. Sponsored by the Illinois Department on Aging and this station.
Happy kids heal faster. That's why Starlight Children's Foundation is dedicated to improving the mental well-being of sick kids, regardless of their illness or injury. When a child is hospitalized, the happiness of childhood feels out of reach. But that's where Starlight comes in. We provide entertainment through our gaming stations, comfort with our specially designed hospital gowns, play with our toy deliveries, and distraction through our virtual reality headsets. Starlight programs are what happiness is made of, the things that make being a kid special. The simple power of a smile, delivered to over 800 hospitals across the country, can make a lifetime of difference for sick kids. Learn more at starlight.org.
She's running.
Forecast from the News Talk 1070 KHMO Weather Center. Slight chance for scattered rain showers today. Otherwise cloudy. High of 49, northeast winds, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Scattered rain showers likely. Tonight, 37. Cloudy. High of 40 tomorrow. Scattered rain showers likely. Right now, 37.
Welcome on back to On the Mark here on News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app, brought to you by Cunis Honda Hyundai, your number one Honda and Hyundai dealer in the tri-state area, 221 North 36th Street in Quincy. Ask them about that lifetime no-fear powertrain warranty on new and used vehicles. Tell them Mark sent you. College football talk here, a big weekend, week 9 in college football. A couple teams certainly have off this week, Alabama and some other big names. Listen, Jim Harbaugh's been the story in Michigan. They're off this week as well. I'll say this. If Jim Harbaugh knew about the alleged video recording on the sideline, that's obviously not good. It's not a good look. And it's a little bit of a shame on you type of thing. But do I really think it matters that much? Who knows? Michigan is great at recruiting. They have a lot of great players. And, we'll see what happens. I think Jim Harbaugh should be better than that. And I hope, knock on wood, he didn't know. And this is just a one-off kid trying to make a name for himself, be something special. And Harbaugh didn't know anything about it. But it doesn't look that way. I will say, this is what I like to call a take care of business weekend in college football. Texas, FSU, Oklahoma, Georgia, Washington, Ohio State, all teams that absolutely, even Penn State, throw them in there, could end up in the college football playoff. They all are playing unranked teams. So if you are Texas, FSU, Oklahoma, Georgia, Washington, Ohio State, Penn State, you've got to take care of business this week. It is a must. No upsets. Leave this week. I don't care if you only win by 1 point and ugly. It doesn't matter. That won't matter 3 weeks from now. But a loss for any of those teams right now, it kills their college football playoff dreams. And all those teams still have college football playoff legitimate aspirations. So they're called kind of like, listen, take care of business weeks for them. Then obviously the big game, Oregon versus Utah, both one-loss teams in the Pac-12. Listen, both Oregon, especially Oregon more so than Utah, but both these teams are still capable, yes, of both making the playoff. If either team blows the other team out, if Oregon goes on the road, blows out a Utah team, you bet your butts Oregon is still alive for the college football playoff. So that's going to be the really big game to watch in college football this weekend. Wrapping up the show next. It's On the Mark, News Talk 1070 KHMO and the KHMO app.
Hi, this is Scott